What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of All Things Behind the Scenes with your girl, Nina Payne. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, this show is about events, what happens before the event, during the event, and after the event. Who are these dynamic individuals who plan the thousands of details to make sure the event happens? And then we also talk about how to navigate the business of doing events. Today's guest, I am super excited to share with you. She's one of the reasons why I do this podcast. I love shining light on people who do all the things behind the scenes, and she is no exception. She's an entertainment manager, she's a realtor, she's a festival director in events, she's also a founder. Please welcome Sabrina Underwood, founder of Earthtones Enterprises. Hey, Sabrina.
Hi. How are you, Nina? Thank
I'm
you for
doing
having me.
good. How are you?
What day is it? I'm girl, I am blessed. I am doing great. Thank you for asking.
I know we talk often. We are friends.
Mhm.
Disclaimer: we are friends, and we spend a lot of time kind of chit chatting and passing information back and forth, and kind of just staying connected. And I'm just super excited that you took time out of your immensely busy schedule to be with us today. So thank
It
you for
is
being
an
here.
honor. Excuse me, ma'am. It's an honor. Honored to be in this great number of amazing dynamic women as well as yourself. I'm just really proud of you. So glad that you've taken the leap because this is needed. It's much needed and you're perfect for it. So I'm just
Oh,
really excited for you and I'm
thank
happy to be here
you.
to support as well.
Thank you. So I want to get into it, but I got to do a little bit of background, right?
Mhm.
I've been on Sabrina for a while. As some of you know, when I started Foundation Management, we were artist management and special events. And there were very few number of people that I heard about when I got into artist management who were connected to the labels in LA and New York and the places that things were happening. And Sabrina's name used to ring in spaces where, Sabrina's coming to watch your show, she's looking for new perform she's looking for somebody to promote. Like, it was this thing. Even before I knew you, your
Mhm.
name kind of rang bells in the city here about somebody who you needed to be connected with if you were going to be doing music in the city of Detroit. And I don't know if we've had this conversation. Have we had this conversation?
No, we have not.
So
Not at all.
weird. And so when we were talking about trying to enter you, I remember going back and hearing Sabrina Underwood's name and thinking, "Oh, I need to connect with her. I need to figure out how to get her to my show." And it was one artist that I was working with, where there was hot sauce and presents, but there was a hip hop artist that you saw at a show and you text me and
Mm.
you said, "Hey, my name is Sabrina Underwood," and I can't remember who you were representing, but you were like, "I want to connect with you about your artist, Keem, the franchise
Mhm.
at that time." And
Mhm.
I was like, "What? Sabrina Underwood is texting me about Keem? I don't know where she's." It was a whole thing. It was really dope, and I was like, "Okay." And so, like, we then connected over the years, and all the things that you were doing. I was super excited to meet you. I can't even remember where we actually met face to face if it wasn't with when we worked together. I know we worked together with project producers, but before that, do you remember where we met?
I believe it was at an urban organic event, if
With
I'm not
Drake Cypher?
mistaken.
Shout out Drake.
Yes, it might have been urban organic or at a place where hot sauce was performing.
I wanna say it was a place where Hot Sauce was
Where hot
performing
sauce was performing.
that we
I'm
officially met,
remembering.
but I think it was Drake who introduced us.
Mhm.
I think it was Drake who introduced us. I'm gonna have to have Drake on the show. Producers in the back, let's make that happen. We'd have Drake on the show too. Okay, so besides that, so I am interested in people to get to know you
Mm,
and what you did and what you do now. And just because this is the entertainment business that we're going to start off talking about, and this is not one of your pre questions, by the way, because I do that.
mm,
And I know oftentimes, because you've been in the business for a really long time, entertainment management, we're just going to put that umbrella, entertainment management, marketing, promotions with all sorts of A-list artists. And I want to give you flowers for the things that you have done and the
oh, thank you.
and um what people don't really realize is the work that it takes to put into getting an artist in front of X, right?
Mhm,
Making sure that people know about the albums coming out or the records coming out or the singles coming out or the music videos coming out or whatever. And there's a lot of work that has to happen. So let's talk about the artists that you've worked with. Just name a few. Just name a few.
Wow. Okay.
You don't have to go about
Well,
the whole 100 and something list, but who people would know that we're just gonna drop some names. We're gonna do some name dropping right now,
doing
Sabrina.
some
Come on,
name
let's do
dropping.
it. Let's just do it.
And I'll bring out, well, let's just say this, when you're working with the major distribution and label, you end up working with pretty much everybody that the label releases,
Mhm.
especially if they're going to go out on tour. That's your time where you're going to get really connected to them. So artists such as Alicia Keys, Jill Scott, Maxwell, um, Justin Timberlake, Chris
Mhm.
Brown,
Mhm.
um, Mario, oh geez, Aretha Franklin,
Mhm.
TLC,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, a
It's
lot,
a
a lot,
it's
a
and
lot of
it's good. I want you to name drop because you can. You know what I mean? You can. And you're one of the humblest people that I know. But I wanted people to understand that this is, you know, you do the work, you keep your head down and you do the work. And it's not about broadcasting all of these amazing people that you work with. You just do the work. And as part
mhm,
of I think in this event space that I'm in and as an entrepreneur and probably in our age range, we just head down do the work. You
yeah,
know what I mean? And so I just want to say, you know, I want people to understand that it's about doing good work at
yeah,
the end of the day. That's
yeah,
what I really wanted to talk about. And
yeah,
so let's talk briefly about what you did for them, just so they can get some context. I know
yeah.
you worked for the labels, and then your job was to.
My job was to connect the dots in the marketplace, in whatever region I worked in, whether it was the Midwest region or the Mid-Atlantic region. Um, I pretty much, the New York offices and the LA offices would establish the overall plan for the artists. But then we as field reps would be the experts in our regions. So we knew where they needed to go, who they needed to talk to, what would work for the demographic in our region. Because what may work in Detroit may not work in Philly, may not work in DC. We're a
Mhm.
special kind of, what may work in DC, which was an area that I worked, that I focused on, may not work in Norfolk, Virginia, which was another area that I focused on. So it was my job to get the exposure, to get them sold, to
Mhm.
get them in front of people, to get people excited about them, to get the press to talk about them, independent press, because we, of course, also have our PR folks in the different, headquarters offices, but we also dealt with the independents. You get what I mean? So it was all of those things and some to get the product in the stores, to get the product to the DJs, to get the product, to the college stations. I did all of that.
Mhm.
So from the bottom to the top, that's what
So,
my job was.
and there was one artist in particular that kinda started this whole thing for you, that really got you kind of excited about this lane. Let's talk about this artist because he's one of my favorite artists of all time as well, and I don't care who debates me on that. Let's talk about your first artist that kind of, really stood out for you.
The artist that made me want to get into music,
Mhm. Mhm.
oh, none other than His Royal Badness, Prince.
Come on now.
Come
Come
on,
on now.
the best in the land, even still, I'm sorry, shoot me, but I will
So
fight you.
right, right. We both agree. We connect on that
Yes,
constantly about our love for
yes.
Mr. Purple himself.
Mm.
Have you been to the museum?
I have not been to the
Come
museum.
on, fan.
It's just and I think part of my purple card is gonna be snatched for this, but every time I plan to go,
Mm.
it just never happens, and
Well,
now for the last several years, it always happens the week before our music fest. You know what I mean?
oh, yeah,
So, it's just
yeah,
like but I
yeah.
will I will
You
get
gotta
there.
make it. Anybody who is even remotely a fan of Prince needs to go to his museum at Paisley Park. It is a walk down memory lane. You
Right.
feel his presence there. It depends on what level of fan you are.
Yeah.
The group that I was with, everybody was like super fans. So everybody was
Mhm.
crying. It was a whole
Yeah.
movement in itself. And
For
so like you
me
gotta go.
I wanna go, during the celebration
Yeah,
first. I don't
that's a
wanna
good
go in the
time to go.
off-season month,
That's a good
you
time
know,
to go.
so
But just go before they shut
yeah,
it down. I don't know how long
I
you got.
definitely plan on going. Yes.
So talk about Prince and what you did and how that connected, because it's important for people to kinda see how you connect the dots, because it's all about the behind the scenes, right? And
Right.
how and who connected with what and how you got an opportunity to work with him.
Exactly. Well, first and foremost, let me say this. I am a spiritual being before anything else, and I believe in the power of the spoken word and tongue. And when I was 7, that's when I first knew, after listening to the Prince album, I needed to be involved in this thing that just made me feel so good, and especially next to this person. I knew I didn't necessarily want to play an instrument, but I wanted to work with him. I wanted to work in the business. And throughout all of my life, my young adult life, when people would say, "What are you gonna do?" I would always say, "I'm gonna work with Prince. I'm gonna work with 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I even have yearbooks from middle school and high school where folks in their autograph section, "Good luck working for Prince. Ha, ha,
Oh,
ha, ha."
wow. And you weren't supposed to be listening to Prince songs at 8, 9, 10, 11.
Oh,
They were
look,
not age appropriate.
I didn't know what I was talking about, and jack you off and all this kinda stuff, but I promise you, baby, the music had me going. So, anyway, fast forward, I'm living in DC. Relationships, let me just say this too, relationships are very important. Quentin Perry here in Detroit and Willie Donwell were very, very key
Shout
in,
out to Quentin.
bringing Prince here
Mhm.
and just connecting the dots for him, and I had a relationship with them, and I moved to DC. He came, I'm always the girl that stalks all around the city for for the secret pop-ups because he was known for doing
He
that,
did do a lot of those, yeah.
and I contacted Willie Downwell, and I'm like, "Hey, they're here, connect the dots." So he did. I met his general manager, and she gave me the biggest assignment and said, "Hey, I'm so glad you know this market. I don't, and can you help me? I need to plan uh, a meet and greet with him, Larry Graham, and Shaka Khan for the day after tomorrow. Can you do
Okay,
that?"
okay. Come on, yes.
And
This is what I'm talking about. Go
yes,
go ahead, go continue.
and lo and behold, I had a Rolodex of
And we're
almost
talking about
50
in a day.
in a
Day after tomorrow. So you're on the day, you have 1 day to fully plan it together, and the next day is your event.
yes, and she didn't know me from Adam, but because Mr. Donwell gave me such a glowing review, she said, "I trust you. Can
Mm.
you help me?" And I did. I pulled it all together. Um,
What
I
does that
didn't
mean,
know
Sabrina? You
I
you
didn't
pulled
know
it all
what the
together
budget was.
means, who are you calling? Like, what do you how are you making these calls and connections? Like, talk to
Let me tell
the people
you,
about how you make an event happen in a day and a half.
how do you make well, the venue was already secured. It was at the venue,
Mhm.
and I knew the time. She just kinda worked on the passes and all that kinda stuff for me, and we thank God this was around the time where we also had mobile cell phones that could text. So, we were doing a lot of texting. But anyway, I just reached into my Rolodex. That's very important, having your connections, and so between all the stakeholders in the market, I knew them, I had been with them, all the key DJs, all the program directors, all the top folks in retail who we needed to bring in the products, you know what I mean, his albums, because at this point, he had gone independent with Raven to the Joy Fantastic. That was after Raven, yeah, after Raven to the Joy Fantastic. But anyway, I just kind of went through, but that's not a hard sell.
Mhm.
Nobody turns down getting a chance to meet this guy because he was
Mhm.
such
Mhm.
a mysterious person that was so untouchable. So when you get a personal connection to just be able to go in and hear him talk about his album and his new songs and him leaving the majors and going
Mhm.
indie and wanting to be able to touch, feel, and smell everybody and get to have a personal connection, whereas before he didn't have that. And for me to be tapped on to make this happen, it was the greatest opportunity ever. And so I think in that time, the max was about 50 people.
Mhm.
And I got them all in. They all got concert tickets. I was the girl in the market for a while after that, child. And they got a chance to meet him. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But he just kinda popped in for like a quick split
Yeah.
second, you know what I
You're not
mean?
gonna get a whole
But
lot.
I got a chance to meet Larry Graham, Shaka Khan, the rest of the band, and talk with his people.
Yeah.
But just for them to be able to see him, you know what I mean?
It's
And
huge.
to be addressed for a quick moment was enough for them to say, "You know what? I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna help him. I'm gonna put this in or I'm gonna test it out or whatever." And so that was awesome. And the reward from that was a great relationship with Jacqueline at the time, who was his general manager, who then had me come back the second night. He did two shows. I ended up being serenaded slightly for my birthday by him, which was on the
Come
next
on.
day. Well, not necessarily serenaded because he didn't believe in birthdays at the time, but we had a great conversation. I ended up being there to help out with the shooting of his music video. Had a little brief cameo in it. If you blink one time, you're gonna miss it. And that's where I got a chance to meet Dougie Fresh and a lot of the band members to this day. We're good friends, and they
Mhm.
ended up offering me a contract.
Mm.
And so while I was working for Sony, I can say that now, but back then I couldn't, child. But, I wasn't gonna turn that
Called it
down, you know what I
moonlighting back
mean?
then. They still use
And
moonlighting?
so when I had my work bag and I had all my Sony products and artists and everybody else, I also had Prince tucked on the side. So I
Mm.
would have those sidebar conversations, and they were really happy, and I worked with them for about a year and a half, after that
Mm.
until, he just kinda he was kinda fickle with how he wanted to do things, so
Well,
but like
he
I
was
said,
always fickle, but, he just
yeah,
happened to be at this particular time trying to come out of the majors and going independent. He needed, he would never say that, but he needed, to meet with, folks like yourself. And so what I don't want everybody to miss is that because you were selected to do this, right? And you brought all of these, program directors, people who can make or break his album in that market,
mhm.
this was huge.
It was huge, and what was great, like I said, to have the relationships, to be able to have the contacts, to be able to
Mhm.
make these phone calls,
Yeah.
'cause that
Yeah.
was huge for him
Yeah.
to say, "Make this happen," and her like, "Please help me make this happen." You know what I
Mhm.
mean? There was a wait, but I knew it wouldn't be difficult because of who he was. I
Yeah.
couldn't imagine someone saying, "Oh, I don't have a babysitter tonight." That baby probably be in the bag coming right through um, so
So
that
so
was great.
I think the lesson, right? Because 'cause I'm
Mhm.
always talking about the lessons, um, that you mentioned are super important, those relationships, because you never know when, you might need to tap into that, or you never know when, you might be able to might have to get that call, you know what I
Right.
mean? And so, making sure that you are taking care of your relationships, making sure that you're not burning any bridges because the world is
That's so
super
important.
small.
Yep.
Right? That you might end up calling that person that you cussed out because you need something. And
Yeah.
so there's a huge lesson. There's so many lessons in this, but I think that's a really good lesson in relationship building because you didn't know when, where, why. You were just continually building great relationships. And now this opportunity happened, which catapulted a lot of the other things that happened to you after that,
It
right?
sure did. I think the other thing to me that came out of that was always be ready.
Mm.
You know
Be
what I
ready.
mean?
Never get
Because
ready.
you just
Mhm.
never know when that opportunity is gonna come. The other thing that I got from this too was to, after the show, to, have him, there were, like, maybe 10 of us. And he just kinda asked, he looked at me, he says, "Why is it like this? Why is it the way that it is? Why don't people seem to wanna really support my records?" And,
Did
you
he ask
know,
you that?
he did, and I said, "I can only speak from my experience." I said, "But I am a fan, and you've really gone very creative and artistic.
Mhm.
You've gone deep with your music, and sometimes it can be a little too deep for
Mm.
mainstream ears and commercial.
Mm.
It's very artistic music." And he understood that, you
Mhm.
know, but sometimes I hate to say it, not calling out names, but palms were also being greased.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. Palms probably still being greased in the industry.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
It's part of the fabric of the industry.
it's a
Come on
part of
now.
the fabric of the
We know that.
industry.
You and I both know that.
Exactly, and so if you're not out here, you're trying to do it honestly and
Mhm.
just purely based on the solid records, but
Mhm.
you're not, greasing no palms. You
Yeah.
might not,
Yeah,
you know
they wanna say payola is dead, but, it is not.
it's surely not. It's surely not.
Oftentimes, it's not necessarily done with actual cash. There's a lot of favors and a lot of, just as,
Yep. It
just
is what
it
it
is what
is.
it is.
It's gonna be here till Jesus comes
Yes,
back,
it
and
is.
don't
So
think that
that's
the playlisters aren't, getting it either, but, they're not regulated under FCC, so but that's a whole other conversation.
yeah. Yeah.
Um
So for all the artists, you heard it here first. Just
Yeah, yeah. But a lot of
mhm,
that too is our relationships. Thankfully for me, I have bargaining chips. You
mhm.
put this in, this person's coming to the market,
Uh-oh.
we can have them come to your children's event. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So, you gotta know how to work those things. But anyway, so that was one of the greatest lessons. And like I said, just going back to the spiritual nature of it all, I know God was in the midst of all that. And these
you
are things that I spoke since I
yeah.
was 7, and it came to fruition and it came to pass. And like I said, even to this day, just some of the team members that were surrounded by them at that time, just genuine relationships. And so that's something that I can say that I'm walking away with beyond the experience and beyond just being able to check that off the dream list. It happened.
But I think you're right in that manifestation, right? You spoke it at a very young age. I don't even think you understood what you were speaking at that time. But what happens when you start to speak life is that everything a part of your all of your neurons start to look for that thing,
Yeah.
right? So whether or not you see it at work, there's opportunity, something comes up and he might be a part of something and you're going, right? You're
Yeah.
gonna show up. Well,
Yeah.
all the things start to work together,
Yeah. For
and then it
sure.
manifests itself. And so I think that's a lesson learned too, to speak it.
It's that, and not even that, just being in Detroit when we were coming up as young kids, Motown it flew the coop at the time.
Oh yeah.
But I always knew that I wanted to be in music, and people always kinda made you feel like you had to move to LA, or you had to move to New York. If you weren't in either of those markets, you couldn't make
Mhm.
it. But we
Yeah.
were Detroit Rock City, we were
Mhm.
Detroit Techno City, we had a variety of, distribution companies and things that were here, and so, thank goodness for Eastern Michigan University's, Career Services department
Woo, woo,
because,
woo. We both went to
um,
Eastern, by the way.
those internships came in handy, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so, again, if you stay focused and you look for opportunities, you will generally if you don't find them, you can create them.
Mm.
And so that's just something that I carry with myself today. And those are all the things that kind of help to contribute to the professional that I am today.
So let's move to events because of course
Yep.
this is events and entrepreneurship. And
Yep.
so and I think what is starting to unfold as I talk to everybody is that we're all doing events. Whether you're in
Yeah.
the event industry or not in the event industry proper or directly, we're all throwing an event
Yeah.
here or there, a dinner for someone, a birthday party for someone. We're involved in some kind of way.
Mhm.
And so even when you're doing marketing and promotions under the label or umbrella, you're doing events.
Yeah.
When I was in there doing entertainment management, all of my events that I did were entertainment driven, but they were all under the event umbrella.
Mhm.
And so now, fast forward,
Yeah.
we have a lot of room in between, but fast forward, you are the festival director for Jazz and at the Vanity,
Yes.
and that we're going to be helping you out with that coming up
Mhm.
next month. And
Yeah.
so this will air before then. We'll see.
June 10th and the 11th.
June 10th and 11th. And so talk about, because there's so much to that,
Yes.
how you got the festival director job that you're
Yeah.
working now, and then the things that you learned or that you brought into this from the things that you learned early on
Right.
in marketing
Well,
promotions.
I ended up, being a contractor with a nonprofit, in the city, and, for gosh, at the time, about 17 years, they put on Jazzin' on Jefferson, which was just, an amazing community jazz fest that really brought the community out, 18,000 folks on a weekend. They would shut down one of the main Aves, Jefferson Ave, so on and so forth. So when I came on as a marketing contractor with them, they looked at my background and said, "Ah, Now you can plan this because we know that you have experience in this realm, and just kind of said, poof, here you go. And I'm like, okay. But again, putting on events was not foreign to me. I was able to, through like working with you and Toya Hankins and those guys, um, to help with Mac
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 and third.
Mac and Third,
Yeah.
Mac and Third.
Mhm.
So I was able to get that experience for putting on such a massive festival that drew thousands of people to really understand the inner workings as opposed to just being the person that brought my artist to
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
to and just left. I was really a part of that, woven all into that. And so I was able to bring that to this. And so with that, I did the research, made the calls, you know, did everything that I had to do for the first year, brought on folks like yourself to, to kind of help out in areas where, you got to put your team together.
Yes, you do.
And so you put the team together and we each had our lanes, even though really for my first year, I did a whole lot more.
Mhm.
And it was successful. It was successful. And the
How do you rate
organization,
your event success? Like, what is that marker, and how do you know when you can say that it was a success?
number one, we had a budget.
Mm.
It was a success because we did not go
We
over
like a good
budget.
budget. We like a good budget.
We did not go over budget.
Mhm.
We generated the number of sponsorships that we needed to help facilitate this. I was very active in sponsorship solicitation as well. Um, we established a goal line of the number of attendees that we wanted. Now, we
Mhm.
didn't have clickers, we didn't have, people counting heads one by one, but through drone photography, we
Mhm.
were able to kind of get an idea,
Mm.
of the number of people that showed up. That was a success. So we actually exceeded what we initially thought, which was great. The number of small businesses that signed up to be vendors,
Mm.
we hit that mark. We knew what we wanted. We hit that mark. I was also very instrumental in soliciting vendors, you know. And so the to be able to employ world-renowned talent that lives here in the city,
Mm.
and program 2 stages of live music
Mm.
and get all of that in under budget. That was I think I walked away with, like, maybe $1,600 that wasn't spent on an artist. That was a great thing, and so when your sponsors give you great feedback, and then we also collect feedback, we have
Mhm.
volunteers on the festival grounds collecting feedback.
Mhm.
When you have that, when you see just the organization social pages, you know, filling up with followers, when you see more and more people during and after come to sign up for your newsletter because now they really want to be connected to you. Those are all great things to me that said success. But
Mm.
for the most part, attendance we hit all the goals. We got good media press from it,
Yeah.
media attention, it was awesome.
So you set your goals at the top of the event, right? And
Mhm.
then you can then have a metric, if you
Yeah,
will, to see whether or not you got those goals hit or
yeah.
not. What does
Mhm,
that know? So what do you like, Sabrina? Like, because what I know we skipped some years, and you're still doing
mhm.
entertainment. You're still doing entertainment management. You still got a leg in there. You're doing events. You worked at Dime for a while, and you were
Yes.
doing a lot of things there, and so you have so much experience that you brought to where you are now, right?
Mhm,
What do you enjoy about events? Because in all transparency, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of long nights and long weekends and missed teas and brunches and lunch with the girls and all of that. So
a whole
what?
lot of, fast food.
It's all of that. And so what do you love about this?
Well, first of all, they say variety is the spice of life.
Mm,
So when you are working events, no one event is the same.
mm,
And then within the event, there is so multifaceted and so many opportunities for you to be creative. I thrive off of creativity. I thrive off of that good energy. So to me, that's one of the driving forces to bring people together, to um to be able to see people enjoy or be impacted by or take something away from in a very positive manner, something in which you were a part of having to, helping to bring on or put on.
Mhm.
Those are things that make me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Nina, I've actually, for me, assisting you with a lot of the events that you and your team put on, I am an honorary team member, by the way.
Of
You'll
course,
always
always.
be an honorary
Need
team
to get
member.
her a T-shirt. Somebody get her a T-shirt.
Yeah. I mean, but even something as registering folks, and then when
Mhm.
they're coming in, hearing about the excitement that they have about what they're about to experience.
Mm.
I don't take, I'm just, that's just me. I'm like, woo, 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 woo. I get excited about
What is
every
the
little
woo-woo? That's your
element.
excitement? Woo, woo, woo?
Woo, woo, woo. But yeah, so to me, to be able to bring people together, put together great creative events, and some of them aren't creative, some of them are corporate and stuffy. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, as long as the people that are coming are able to walk away with what they came for,
Mhm, mhm.
and the client is happy with the results, I'm good.
So in that, like I said, you've done this isn't your first rodeo doing events. And so what do you think if you were to talk to some other person getting started, about to get into the business and want to just, get into the event planning space, like what are some of the skills that you have to have, you believe, in order to be a great planner?
You number 1, you've gotta start with a good attitude. If
Mm.
you've got a funky attitude, ugh, you're in for it, sadly. You are in for it. Number 2, you have to be organized.
Mm,
Organization is the key. You've gotta have good, time management skills.
mm.
And if you don't, make sure you've got somebody on your team who is a timekeeper,
Yeah,
who can
say that.
keep you on task. Um, the other thing too, I think, is just to be open, because sometimes we will come in thinking, oh, we want to plan Coachella,
Mhm.
but it's okay to plan this medical center's senior, testing, get your feet wet, because surprisingly, even the what we consider smaller events, it takes a lot and it's great experience, and one little mishap could
Mm,
make or break an event. So I would just say come in and then also be willing to work with others, offer your skills and talents to others, see how, because everybody works differently, and you can get a little bit of something from everybody.
mm,
And don't be afraid to embrace technology.
mm,
We are in a whole new arena right now with AI, VR, and then the pandemic brought in a whole other thing with people feeling comfortable being closely packed together. Some
mhm,
people are still looking for hybrid events. You know what I mean?
mhm, mhm.
Be willing to see what's out there, and be willing to embrace technology where needed, because you might have to rely on that.
Yeah, yeah,
Those are some of the key things, and then stay abreast of what's going on in the industry.
yeah.
Put your feelers out, see what's happening, sign up for the blogs,
Go to
get those
conferences. Mhm.
yeah, sign up for the blogs, listen to the podcast. There's so many dynamic people out here that are doing some really, really great things. So those are my key pieces of advice.
Thank you for that. You had mentioned that one thing could make or break an event, right?
Mhm.
Can you talk about maybe a difficult event that you had, or your least favorite event, and share some, how things panned out for it? Do you
Oh,
remember?
um, well, I yes. I put on a showcase in Philadelphia for um we had 4 labels, and we had their developing artists. And so this was the first time that they were going to be in person and introduced to the market.
Mm,
So you get all your folks out that can touch and make a difference in their lanes. And the bar decided Oh, I don't know what you thought. Why is this a Hennessy sponsored? I'm not serving Hennessy. I'm not. No, you got to pay.
Mm.
Ooh, Hennessy rep didn't show up.
Mm. Mhm.
I'm kind of wondering if they kind of knew ahead of time
Mhm.
because this was a showcase sponsored by Tennessee.
Hennessy. Yeah.
And folks were coming not only to see the artists, they were also coming for these free drinks,
Yeah, of course.
which was a part of the branding. Didn't happen. So what do you have to do? You got to have a contingency plan. Thank God for that. Black American Express card.
Who's Black American? The labels.
The label.
So so you were able to do what?
Oh, you make one phone call, but thank God your VPs always got the cell phone on for the just in case an artist wants to act up or something goes down. You call and they say, "Hey, put me on the phone or you handle it. Here's the card. We just gonna deal with this later."
Mm.
But at the same time, during that night, one of the acts decided they did not want to perform.
Mm.
How are you not going to perform and they're coming here to see you? It wasn't the total act, it was like a person. I'm not even going to mention, oh, it's bringing back flashbacks. I'm not going to mention who it was.
Well,
But
you can. Nobody's listening to my
ooh, child,
podcast. You can say the
I
name. Why
cannot.
you can't say
And as
the
a
name?
matter of fact, each time they would then come into the market, I would just want to be on vacation so I wouldn't have to take them out because they were known for being troublemakers around the country, quite honestly. It
You want me
wasn't
to guess?
market. Mm-mm, mm-mm.
I
So,
could guess. If I guess, will you tell me the right name?
okay.
Jaheim.
No, this is a band,
It was a whole
a
band.
group.
Mint
It was
condition.
a group. Uh-uh, I can't tell you.
Oh,
No, I can't. Let me just say this, they were on Columbia Records, I'll just leave it at that. So,
come on.
one
Okay,
of
I'm a
them but now that I remember it, he didn't want to perform. Oh, was it 2? But one in particular didn't wanna perform because he had met a girl the day before, and she was in town, and he wanted to go hang out with her. He didn't wanna be there. When I tell you I can write a book from my
we have talked about
experiences, and so as the event planner and the regional marketing manager for Black music at the time, I think we were either the 2nd or 3rd, depending on the record, market in the country. And this happens, and then you have to think about those folks that came who then are gonna have a sour taste in their mouth for the
Mhm,
next time you invite them
mhm.
out because they could not get their free Hennessy. And then they could potentially not have seen this artist, but at the end of the day, they ended up performing. At the end
Oh,
of
they
the
did.
day,
How did I
w
mean, you just gonna skip over that? How did they end up performing? He just changed his mind?
I had to get a little greasy. And for
Mm.
me, greasy ain't, but greasy is like olive oil, girl, extra virgin olive oil. It ain't that greasy with me. But I really had to go in and explain the repercussions of what they could have
Mm.
experienced had they not performed. A record could get dropped. The DJs could not put, may not want to
Yeah, they're not
support
gonna play
you.
your stuff. Yeah,
You got
absolutely.
media here. And at the time we had video stations, like all the independent video stations. They could go right back to their studios and just trash you. You know
Mm.
what I mean? You're gonna let this one thing, even though he tried to make it seem like, oh, I'm not feeling good, the other band members who really wanted to go on spilt the beans and was like, Miss Sabrina, let me just tell you, he met this girl named Coco, and you know, you know, so
You about to ruin your whole career for Coco.
you know what I'm saying over Coco. So, but it all worked out, but it was very stressful. I think I had a bald patch in the back of my head,
Oh,
and some
Lord.
of my hair probably still in Philly somewhere. Um, and I think it just showed on my face because I remember my regional managers coming like, "Girl, like calm down, calm down." I probably looked like, Eveline in the face at the time. But it went off without a hitch. I did get, some accolades from the New York office afterward,
You
but
pulled it off. You
because
pulled
we
it
pulled it off.
you pulled it off.
Um,
Yeah.
so that was like one of the most stressful things because at the time Philly was like one of the key markets, like I said, for all of these people. And for all this time and money and everything to go into this and to have these two major things happen at my event that I planned.
Mhm.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? No, no. And I'm a person that likes to protect my reputation. And the one thing I will say is good news travels fast, but bad
Now
news
this
travels
travels
faster.
faster. Come on
And
now. I'm gonna get a boop 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 or nothing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I no, you know.
Say
So
that again. Say that again. Say that again for the people in the back.
good news travels fast, but bad news travels faster, and that means bad reputations as well.
Right. And in the
So
music industry, man, oh man,
yeah, yeah.
quick.
And this was my first major showcase that I planned in that market. So it was a lot.
Mm,
But that was, I would say, the most challenging event.
mm. But I think we all have to learn from that, right? There has to be a contingency plan. A, a B, a C, a Z.
The contingency plan was that American Express card.
Right. 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 And that would have and even if, say for instance, the American Express card wasn't there, you would have
Yeah,
to figure out some other kind of way
gotta
to make
figure
sure
it
this
out.
happens.
Gotta figure it out exactly.
There
And
is no this is not happening. You know what I mean? Like there's no option for it not to happen. And I
yeah,
think in the event space, we all have to have that that level of
yeah,
we gotta come up with a plan. We gotta
yeah,
figure this out. And
yeah, for
so
sure.
whatever we need to do, but this is going to happen kind
Yeah,
of
it's
attitude.
happened with sound
Mhm.
not
Mhm.
working right. It's happened with when I've had a concert or a show for a
Mhm.
developing band, right? And you go and you think it's a full stage, but it's a little wooden platform that
Mhm.
everybody can't fit on, and they wanna just
Mm.
walk out because they're like, "This is not how we get down." You know what I mean?
Mm.
And the venue will not have told you beforehand that they were working on this and it wasn't gonna be as you saw on the pictures on the website, you
Mm.
know? So
Mm.
all of the things,
All of the things, all the
all of the
things.
things.
So let's transition into before we leave, I want
Mm,
to talk about your brand because this is also about entrepreneurship. And so even though you work as event manager or event festival director for Jazz and the Vanity, you're an entertainment manager for a couple of producers and artists, you are a realtor, you're doing all the things. You also are a founder of Drama Queen. And so tell a little bit about what that is and what it's like to be a founder of your own brand.
right. Well, with Drama Queen, the Drama Queen Company, it is a brand that celebrates womanhood. It started out as just a really cool t-shirt line. But I realized over time and after talking with women all over the country in my circles about our shared experiences and our drama, the things that we experience, uh,
Mhm.
the hits, the misses, the things that could totally just throw your whole day off, um, the relationship that goes sour, the wayward kids, the boss that gets on your nerves. Like
Wayward kids.
there's all kinds of things that we deem drama, but through shared experience, we all understand and we all relate. And so with the Drama Queen brand, it's something that I created to honor, to celebrate us, but to take the negative out of the word drama because even though there is negative drama,
Mhm.
it doesn't always have to be. So I'm remixing it, we're making it our own, and we're taking it because we learn from our drama, right?
Mm.
And these are opportunities to understand your strengths, your weaknesses. You get all those light bulb moments that come out of whatever the experience is. It is what you make it, but I am just one that always chooses to, make freaking, I don't know, a dope margarita out of lemons. You know what I'm saying? So
Wait, what?
so with the Drama Queen brand, that is what I'm doing. So we're curating amazing experiences. We have a girlfriend getaway trip coming up. We've got not only t-shirts and hats and mugs and journals and things like that. Um, it's just really about community
Mm.
and celebrating womanhood, and all that that means.
Well,
So
I
it's
don't know
really
how you're doing all of these amazing things, all of these
oh,
things.
it takes other people to help. It really does. And like this is the thing. People hear all those check marks, and sometimes you can get they'll get the impression that you're scatterbrained or you're all over the place. I am just a multi-passionate entrepreneur, ma'am. Um, and so I realized that life is so short,
Mm.
and, I'm not one out here just boasting and bragging, while you sleep, I'm working, because that doesn't work either. That's a fallacy. You will get sick. I have had a seizure from lack of sleep. So I am not one about work, 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 and sleep when you're
Mm.
dead, because that's that's a bunch of whatever. I don't wear that. My grind, F the grind. There's a way to work smart. There's a way to work smart and not let life pass you by.
Like that.
But with that, it's just me stepping out, but learning that you can't do everything by yourself.
Mm.
Real estate is a part-time thing. I'm all
Mhm.
about, generational wealth, and especially
Mm.
helping first-time home buyers get their piece of the American pie. I love my first-time home buyers, but for the most part, marketing, promotions, events, are my is my bag. Drama queen is my second bag. You know what I mean?
You got a bag.
Everything
You got
else
some
that I
bags.
Everything else that I do is just supplemental.
Gotcha.
Music, of course, I work with and partner to Denon Porter. He's amazing. He keeps me energized musically. He's got some great things coming, and he really does push me to be the bulldog in the skirt when I need to be. Um,
Happens.
and stands by that. So it's great to have great people in your circles, to by which to make all this thing happen. But number one is God. So
Mm.
without him, okay.
You know, I agree with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a lot of similarities in that. And so if people are trying to get in touch with you, Sabrina, how do they get in touch with you if they want to find out
Um,
more about Drama Queen or come to the festival?
yes, go to jazzinatthevanity.com to learn more about the festival. And that's jazzin with no G, Jazzin at thevanity.com. Again, June 10th and the 11th. But for me, you can find me on Instagram at Earthtones ENT. That's Earthtones plural ENT, or Belizean Girl.
All right, I
My
forgot about that
heritage.
title.
That's my
Mhm.
heritage. And that's Belizean. It's not GIRL, GYRL. So you can find me there, pretty much all across the board. For Drama Queen, it is Drama Queen Company on all
Drama
platforms.
Queen Company on all platforms.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, I
So,
appreciate you being here. I know my producers in the back are saying we are out of time. Oh, we might have to do this again. And so thank you so much, Sabrina, for being a part of all things behind the
I appreciate
scenes.
it. It's been fun. I'm excited.
You know, you have so much going on with no way to get all that out in 40 something minutes. But I think we touched on a few things that are super
We touched
important for
on a
people
few
to
things.
remember.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? And so thank you again for being here. Really appreciate you. Thank you again for joining us for another episode of All Things Behind the Scenes podcast, where we discuss all things events and entrepreneurship. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified of each new episode. You can also follow us on All Things BTS Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. We welcome all comments and suggestions. So let us know what you think. We love hearing from you. So until next time, remember that the only thing that you can guarantee about an event and life is that it will change. Be blessed.